My name is Michael Ziak, and I want to start with a big thank you for coming to Ignite, understanding what we're doing in the space of delivering services to you as our customers, and most importantly, the fact that you're putting your reliance and your businesses in our care. And so ultimately, what I want to talk to you about today in this brief session is how we do change management, but more importantly, what you can find, how to gather the resources for change, and how you can be the most successful in delivering the services that we deliver to you as our customers. Now, change has gone through an enormous amount of change. If you rewind a few years ago, change was about upgrading your servers and making changes on your network. And that's what IT focused on. It has gone through a massive transformation. Today, what you're worried about is giving your users productivity capabilities, enabling them and empowering them. How many people happened to see Ron Markovich's session on M365 today? Were there folks? Great. Perfect. You see some of the enormous capabilities, and the CIO of Goodyear made such a provocative statement around the fact that it's changed from IT pushing technology to the fact that the customers and their users are demanding it. And we're trying to deliver that change to your users. But you have to think about it differently. Ultimately, we are constantly deploying change into our service environment. We have well over 1 million devices across 100+ data centers that run constantly around the world. And we are pushing change to that environment, whether it be the features and functions that you're excited about, security capabilities, performance enhancements, and that occasion where we actually remove a capability. For example, as we switch from something like video to stream, that is actually a deprecation of a feature called video and the introduction of a new feature called stream. And with that, you as the IT organizations are the trusted owners of having all of this knowledge and being able to manage all of it. And so what we want to do as Microsoft 365 is give you access to those capabilities so you can understand what changes we're making, when we make them to the environment, and most importantly, how you can be successful with regard to them. So I'm going to deep dive on the resources. The good news is we have some time at the end of this session because this is really about sticking your toe in the water and getting an understanding of where you need to go to get the information that is most important to you. So I'm pleased today to announce our new public roadmap. We were Office 365. Last year we announced Microsoft 365. And we've brought those together so you can get the capabilities and understanding of services like Intune and enterprise management services, along with the features that we deliver in Exchange and SharePoint and Yammer. All of these features are now brought together into one roadmap for our customers. More importantly, the roadmap is extraordinarily transparent. If you look at our roadmap, if you go out to the site, which I give you at the very end, you will see literally hundreds of features in development. We are telling you about things before we're releasing them in most cases. Those features are things that you, as IT pros, as technologists, should understand, because your goal is to deliver that innovation to your end users and be the ambassadors of change. Not the people that are worried about all of the infrastructure on the back end, but how do you, as organizations, take advantage of the services that we're delivering to you? How many people in here are the IT pro of their organization or representing it? Okay, great, that's everybody. Love to see it. When you think about it, you are uniquely positioned. I do not know of any other organization in a company that understands the business that that company is in better than IT. You are tied to finance. You are tied to health, the HR organization. You are tied to the engineering teams. You are the center point of how innovation and technology is used in your company. And the goal is for you to understand how to unleash that power of those users. And so when you look at the roadmap is about giving you that telescope of features that are coming to you and your users. Next, we deliver the finer grain controls. We give you updates in Message Center. Message Center, I'd look at when you think about what the roadmap is, It's that telescope, binoculars of, hey, what's coming down the road for us as a company. When you look at Message Center is actually targeted. We use your tenant ID and we send you notifications to you as a customer. So when you authenticate into the new administrative center that was just announced today, you will be having access to the Message Center. And the capabilities there are telling you about not only new features as we're rolling them out to your environment, but actions that you may have to take as an organization. Or we're telling you that a certain service which we announced on the roadmap as potentially changing or being removed, giving you notification at a more granular level in Message Center. So, when you look at it, we've delivered a set of features since last time I presented on this. The reader role has been announced. Larger organizations were unhappy with the fact that they had to define an administrative role into the service just to view Message Center and just to be able to view the Service Health Dashboard. And so we defined a reader role. That reader role allows you to define somebody that can look at the messages that we're delivering on Message Center without having access to anything else. Preferences, really important. As you look on your right side, got to get my, on your right side, you'll see the capabilities that you can now toggle. As we started, I've been with the service since its very, very beginning. We started with Exchange and we added this cool thing called SharePoint, and then we did Skype. Now you have literally got dozens of capabilities, and you as organizations likely have specialists, and they don't want to look at everything. So we have now given you the ability to toggle and be able to say, hey, I only want to look at messages that are relevant to me as the Exchange administrator. Now, next, when you look, the data privacy messages are coming in Q2. How many people are concerned about GDPR, have heard of GDPR? Okay, great, another great show of hands. So one of the things that is important with GDPR, we are the data processor. We run the service on your behalf and you're the controller. We need to tell you about those events and messages. And currently we post them to Message Center, and that doesn't help you because you've got all of your administrators looking at this. You don't want to give your privacy officer access to every message going on. And so we're actually defining a role that will be coming that your security and privacy resources can subscribe to and get rich information about things that are important in the landscape of running the service that relate to security, privacy, and certainly with GDPR coming this past May, specific to that particular area. Now I want to remind folks of some throwback hits. These are things that we had announced last year. I want to make sure everybody's taking advantage of them. We have the weekly digest. This is your ability to get all of the changes coming straight to your email box. All you need to do is say, I want the email digest, and you've got all the changes that we're doing in a digest email that comes to you. We give you a lot of information on each of the items, and then you have the capability of clicking in and looking at the individual items actually directly through Message Center itself. And then the major updates with the ribbon. This was something that customers really asked for, which was, hey, you've got hundreds of updates coming to Message Center. Tell me about the really important ones, and I want to know when it's going to be hitting my tenant. And so what we did with our flighting control of the service is when a major change enters the service, it gets in a holding pattern for 30 days at least, and you get a notification on your Message Center to say, this is coming to you as a tenant, and here's what you need to do. Now, your countdown timer starts, and on occasion it may take longer than 30 days. That's some of the feedback. Customers always want more and more specificity of when a change is coming, but we want to give you at least 30 days notification of those changes that are coming into the environment. Now, as it relates to major changes, just in the last 6 months even, we've provided announcements of 39 major updates to the service. This could include something like a major feature of Teams, as an example, something that your users are affected by. That's sort of the high-level view of what a major change is. If it changes a productivity habit of an end user, we consider that a major change. we're going to change a color on something, add maybe one item to a drop-down. Those things aren't major. But if you tell a user, you no longer do this, you have to do that, that's a major change. And we want to give you time to prepare for it and ideally be able to control it within your environment. Now, kind of nifty thing, and as a reminder, with every Message Center post we provide you, you have the ability to give us feedback. You can tell us, I don't like this feature. We had a great feature that I talked about recently at a executive briefing that I done at Microsoft, where we announced this nifty feature where we created distribution groups for managers automatically. And we heard back from the largest customers, outside of getting some death threats included with that, please don't do that to me. I manage my own distribution groups. I don't need Microsoft doing that on my behalf. Within 24 hours, we had pulled the feature from coming to the service and worked to look at a redesign that allowed customers to decide whether they wanted it, how to implement it. So you need to recognize that you are part of the conversation, and you need to take advantage of the tools that we give you to tell us what you do and don't like. If you don't tell us, then we're going to move forward with the design, but certainly take advantage of it. Now, the good news is that 83% of the feedback that we've gotten on these major updates is actually positive, which means that customers like the change that's coming into the environment. May not always like how quickly it comes, but they like the features, and their users actually are taking advantage, driving it, and the IT pro is considered the hero for giving these features out to the end users. There we go. Now, targeted release. I'm going to skip back right to here. Targeted release for a larger tenant. I'll take a tenant that has a dedicated IT organization. Let's say sort of 250 employees or more is a good sense of sort of to think about it. You may not want your CIO to your CEO to get the latest capability. You want to be able to validate it with your end users. And we, with major updates in general, provide the capability of targeting that release to users. You can turn on targeted release for your entire tenant. We don't recommend it for any tenant over 250 users, or you can set it for a group of users within your organization. And I want to spend a little bit of time on what best practices are there. Now, once you've turned on targeted release, you get the feature early, okay? In terms of the fact that the other users in the organization aren't seeing it. It's production quality, it's rolled through Microsoft, we've got 200,000 people running on top of it, and now we're starting to hydrate it to those individuals that have decided, I want my users to see the latest and greatest capability. It gives you 30 days at least to understand that particular feature. Hey, what's the feedback? I don't like it. Let me tell Microsoft that I don't like it. Let me tell the users this is the best way to use that capability. And then finally, you can opt, as I mentioned, your entire organization or select users. Now, I want to talk about a couple of best practices here. IT has changed. I mentioned the fact that you are at the center of the company. You are the ambassadors of capability and change and productivity within your organization. As you look at digital transformation, you are not the experts of how to use every technology that we deliver in Microsoft 365. PowerPoint and the capability of using the AI features. You may be building PowerPoint presentations, but I bet you marketing actually does it more than IT does. If you think about Yammer, Yammer may be used by your HR department more than any other. So don't look just inside of IT and say, I'm only going to do first release for my individual users within IT. Broaden it. Think about your power users. We do that inside of Microsoft. We call it the Elite program to make it sound like really something cool. And you subscribe to it as an end user. I'm in the Elite program. I feel special. And I actually see the features in advance of other users inside of Microsoft with a commitment that I'll give feedback, provide community-based support for those users, etc. Now, you also have the ability to set up a test tenant. If you're running SharePoint and you're doing customization and so on, it's really important for you to validate that as we're doing releases. You want to have a tenant available. Put that tenant in the targeted release program and turn it on for that particular tenant. So that way you're actually able to test your own internal workflows, beat that version up, do things against it, but you're not going to get the end user feedback that you would by putting your certain set of users into that targeted release program. Now, I talked about the fact that we have announced the Microsoft 365 roadmap, and you can get to it by going to Microsoft365.com/roadmap. And I tested it, and someone ran up 5 minutes before the meeting and said, "Mike, it's live." So it actually just went live. You should be able to get to it. When you get to it, you're going to notice a bunch of things. One is, again, the extraordinary transparency that we provide by giving you information, the ability to be able to filter out certain changes, look at those things that are released, upcoming, by feature set, being able to type in search. Also, just make sure that you're using Message Center. You can download the mobile admin app. This is a great tool. It gives you updates directly to your mobile device. It tells you about incidents going on within the service. It tells you about the upcoming changes that we're doing within the service. Make sure that you have that available to you. And then finally, I just want to mention another a presentation that's being done by a colleague on how SharePoint does change. So I talked about the overarching, these are the tools that we use to deliver and communicate change to you. But now you're going to get a behind the scenes in terms of how is software flighted into the environment, whether we turn it on or off, how we toggle it, and the capabilities that we do to make sure that we don't break all of our customers all of the time as we deploy this massive amount of change to the environment. I had planned and have time available at the end. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the roadmap just for folks that are running off of a small machine, and then I will also bring up the evaluation slide again. But just give me 1 second, and I hope we have internet connectivity here. Let me just do that from here. I'm going to go back to here and click on this. Now let's see if magic happens. Okay, there we go. So this is the new roadmap. You can see 236 features in development. If you go out to some other providers, you'll see them giving you a very narrow window, and they'll show you the 2 or 3 things. Now with this, you have challenges because sometimes we're not that specific about the date that it will be released, but we want to give you insight into the development we're doing so you can be a part of the change. The ability to indicate which products. You know, again, we've now integrated enterprise mobility and security into the mix, and now you can look at the features that are in development, the features that are actually in the process of rolling out, or those that we've launched recently to the service. So make sure you're playing with this, taking advantage of it, espousing all of the great capabilities that you, as the IT organization, choosing Microsoft 365, are delivering to your users. With that, we're done with this session. I want to thank you. It's a great audience here. It's amazing how many people packed in here. So thanks so much. And I'll be up here for a few minutes to take any individual questions you may have and put it back on the slide so you can tell me how well I did with regard to this presentation today. So let me bring this back up. Back to slide. And thank you very much.